Welcome to Let's Humanize the Workplace. Hi, my name is Vivian Acquah, and I'm the Inclusive Workplace Wellness Coach. And I'm so excited about today's episode. It will be about well-being, which I am desperately also looking for some tips and some insights as well. I normally have my presentation deck, and I forgot to upload that one, so I'm going to add it to my screen. So again, welcome to Let's Humanize the Workplace. If you have missed the last two episodes, please watch them back. 2 weeks ago, I did a conversation, a very energizing conversation about the career of people of color, and last week we had also a similar energizing conversation about intersectionality. So if you missed that, go to my YouTube channel and Google Let's Humanize the Workplace, or look back on my LinkedIn page if you want to, and look for the conversations itself. They are really inspiring and enlightening, and I hope that you enjoyed it. It will be also inspiring tonight as well. So I do have something to drop, because yesterday I did do the Amplify DEI Mentoring Circle webinar. So if you missed this, I would say it's a pity, but then again, it wouldn't be honest for you. It wouldn't be fair for you. So if you want to watch the replay, or if you want to know more what this mentoring circle is all about, watch the replay. Go to bit.ly /ampdweb. It stands for something. It stands for Amplify DEI Web, and go to there. It's all small letters. So go to that link and learn more about the mentoring circle, right? The next thing that I want to challenge you, I was inspired by my business coach. I have a conversation with her tomorrow live on not on LinkedIn, on Facebook. So if we aren't friends on Facebook, or if you want to know what the conversation is all about, what will I be sharing regarding this conversation, look me up on Facebook, and I will share the conversation tomorrow there as well, or today, your time as well. But one question that she shared, and I just got inspired by: what's standing between you and reaching the next level as an in-company DEI professional? So if you are a HR professional who is doing the stuff for DEI, or if you are an in-company DEI professional, think about this question. And if you want some answers regarding this question, I can definitely recommend you to go to the webinar. The webinar, I will share the link before bit.ly ampdweb. And visit the webinar. But it's not about me. It's not about my guests. It's not about, what's happening tomorrow in the States. That is another time, right? That's a conversation that we'll have another time. But today it will be about boosting your well-being by working from home. And I do have to be honest, because here in the Netherlands, we are currently in I would say for me personally, a tight lockdown where we are homeschooling, as in Orlando is working from home, and I am and his dad, we are, doing the teacher thing. I am not skilled to be a teacher for a young person, as in a young child. I'm more a teacher for 15 and plus, So it is a challenging exercise that I'm doing at the moment, but I know, because of the health and because of because there is so much happening in the world right now, I'm respecting what the authorities say, but it is a challenging exercise. So that's why I am so excited to bring in my fellow guest speakers, and I'm going to bring them in one by one. So let me show them properly, right? And also do a proper introduction. So bear with me, because there are 5 of them. So first of all, I want to welcome Bart Scholtissen, who is an open-hearted mindset and breathwork expert, loves spending time in nature, and takes people there to help them reconnect with their own nature. Lee Chambers is the founder of Essentialise Workplace Wellbeing, and a psychologist and coach. He's passionate about well-being and leadership. Ilse Noppen, she is a leadership and career fulfillment coach who helps leaders in transition gain clarity and confidence by growing self-aware and mentally. Anita Abaisa is the founder of Black Ladies Talk, and she's focused on improving the socio-economic positions via learning and development interventions. And last but not least, Tynan Allan works alongside leaders to build world-class company cultures, and he's also the host of Culturing Podcast. Okay, now that we have done the intro, I'm going to ask the first question. Why do we need to humanize the virtual workspace? And I'll start with you, Lee.
So this is something that's incredibly important. And I think that if there's one thing that this past year has done for us, firstly, it's actually brought virtual working and remote working to show how we can adapt and acclimatise very quickly. Now, I obviously do a lot of work with small to medium-sized enterprises here in the UK. And one of the biggest challenges is, culturally, many people come to work and leave the human being at the door outside and turn up in their role. And obviously, what remote working has done for us is given us the opportunity to see people in their own environments, to see our children marauding in and coming joining our video calls, to see the pets flying around in the background, and to actually start to see some of the more human elements that are often missed out when people don't bring their human being to the workplace. It's also shown that some leaders are more human than others. And the leaders who've managed to make the challenging decisions that they've had to make in these difficult circumstances, but also been able to still take time to be present with their employees, to take a step back and realise that decisions need to be made in other people's shoes, and started to look at how the decisions that they make impact a number of different elements, and start to ultimately have a look and bring back the fact that belonging is so vital when we're not in a socially important building together. And that's obviously tying in those workplace cultures, those feelings of psychological safety. It's more important than ever, especially because for some people, their domestic environment is not their place of safety. It's not a place where they feel like they might belong. And sometimes we often look at the business culture as the place where that is. I suppose the other thing as well is what's happened is a lot of us have a third place outside of our work and home where we go and feel like a place. And it might be a football stadium, it might be a restaurant, it might be a park. It could be anything, but we've lost access to that third place. And suddenly our home is a place where we need to be more human than ever.
Love that. Thank you for sharing. Anita. You're muted.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, that was such a full answer.
Yeah.
So how can I add something to that? Well, I totally agree, Lee, with especially the part of when people go to the office, it's like they're leaving themselves out of the building, and then their function or something is getting into the building, and all of a sudden we all turn into functions, and we're not human anymore. And well, at this moment, we can't do that. So why this is important? Well, it's so important because what are companies without humans? Simple question. I don't know. The thing is, human in our offices, in our companies, are the most important assets. Although we all not always treating them like that, but it is the way it is. Without a human, nothing works. And especially now, it's so important to take care of all these human beings. It's so important. And lucky for me, I'm an entrepreneur. But when I look around me and I see people struggle every day, I'm a little bit, I'm really getting sad about it because it's so. It's crazy. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work now, and it won't work on the long term. People will get sick, first physically and then mentally. So this is so important to invest in these people, to give them the space, especially here in the Netherlands, to give them the space to breathe, to educate their children, to take time off, because or else they won't make it through this pandemic. So yeah, it should be everything. Yeah, it should be everything. Yeah.
Bart.
Yeah, thank you. I think to me, it's all about authenticity, authenticity and balance and connection. We have created this ecosystem sort of artificially and with goals and targets and deadlines in our heads, and probably with the best intentions. I'll just start from that.
That, but
yeah,
I'm just putting that in quotes.
But we've created this disbalanced ecosystem now that doesn't work, and now we put back into our other places. And I think, but all the places Lee was mentioning, like and the workplace and social environment and your home, it's always you that is there, that's playing the central role in that. And I think a lot of people have lost the connection with themselves and have been living the role that they have been given or have been taken. And so I think that it's important for people to see that, hey, it's who am I? And do I actually want to work for this company? And if yes, in the role that I am playing it in, that I'm working in. So I think authenticity is important. And I think these crazy, beautiful times that we are living in now give us time and opportunity to look at the opportunity, to look at who we are, and the insights that we can gain from that will help us be connected to ourselves more, so that we can take that back into the workplace, be it virtual, be it live, and just be us more. Because like Anita said, it is us humans that make the companies the companies. So I think if everybody shows up as themselves, and we all respect that, and we all love each other for the diversity that we are and that we bring, then I think that would everything would be better.
Tynan.
I don't think you can top all of these answers.
It's not about topping.
Brilliant.
It's about bringing your best self to the table. It's not a competition. This show, it's not about competing. Even when you repeat it, because sometimes you need to repeat something to let it soak in, to let it marinate. So bring it in.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, what Bart said about, understanding ourselves, I think it's so critical. I think what I've come to realize is how much busyness I had in my life pre-pandemic that blocked me from seeing the truth about my life, and was sort of a Band-Aid in many ways. And I think you're hearing this murmur that people are like, whoa, I didn't have my finances in order. I didn't have my, health in order. And then, my favorite meme that's floated around was like, remember all of those things that I wanted to do when I said I had time, and I still haven't done them, even though I've had a lot of time. That's both confrontational, something to laugh at, but also serious and real. And for me, I think, I'm actually trained as a kinesiologist. So I don't even know in Europe if that's a common degree, but in Canada, where I live, it's sort of the health promotion, exercise science and overall nutrition and wellness. And so, my background in that, despite having the head knowledge, I didn't always apply a healthy life in my own life, and so even though I've done workplace wellness consulting and all these things, this is the time where we get to own it for ourselves, where we don't have to you're not proving it, you're not buying nice clothes because you want to show off at work to your other colleagues or, in another social setting. You're not spending money on things for other things, and you're not living, healthy because your workmates are going to the gym at lunch. It's just you. And so I love that. It's really hard, but I love that it's been a season for me personally to get curious about certain things in my life. But it's also been so fun to be in that collective. And this is why I think, organizations, if you're a leader of an organization, this is your opportunity to put some onus on your employees and to say, hey, we want to support you in your personal goals, in your, desires, and what can we do? And if organizational leaders are asking that question proactively, then, I would sort of question, could you do that? I would challenge them to, put some hard questions out there if you haven't done so yet in the, almost a year of being in kind of lockdown. So, those are things that come to my mind.
Thank you. And Ilse?
Yeah, with that question, for me, there are three words which come up. It's connection, empowerment, and work-life balance, our health that we have to look after. And what I like to add from all the things that have been said is maybe about the connection. It's indeed a connection with ourselves, but also connections with others, because, especially at the workplace, we need to make sure that we connect with the teams, that we connect with others that we work with, because and that we actually make an effort and actually really connect from I would say almost from the heart, really finding out how they are, what's happening in their lives. Because
why are you saying almost from the heart? Isn't the heart the right place to start?
True. Yeah, it is, absolutely. Yeah. Indeed, it is the heart, indeed. It is, it's from there that I guess why I'm saying almost the heart is that very few people actually dare to go there.
True.
There's so much in doing. They're talking about, what has to be done, which results, which projects, but they don't take the time to actually connect from the heart. And I think that is, in today's situation, very important.
Thank you. I also have like a hidden message, or not a hidden message, an open message for companies that are demanding their people to be present in the offices. It's happening here in the Netherlands as well. And I'm thinking about the well-being of your people, the well-being of your company. If there is a possibility for your people to work remotely and to support them during the time that they can work remotely, because it's not their fault that your infrastructure is something that you forgot to invest in. You need to invest in your people and put them first where they ought to be, because they are, like Anita said, or the others said, right? Without the people, you don't have any business. And the last thing that you want to happen is people starting getting sick in the workplace because you demanded that they needed to be present in the office. Let them be at home. Let them do the work at home. I'm only making this suggestion because I just watched the news and I saw, a huge spike in traffic, and I'm just like, okay, what is happening? Everybody's, the government is telling the majority to stay home, and all of a sudden there is traffic. That's weird, right? That's weird. And I'm tired. I am done with this lockdown. So don't make us end up in the third lockdown, because then I don't know how I'm going to call this show. I'm going to call the show like, okay, what is life looking? What is our life going to be after the lockdown? But before I spiral, let's go to the next question. What can we do? What can we do to boost our well-being while working from home? So Bart, I'll start with you. Bart, can I share what you are, what you do?
Sure.
So Bart is somebody I've met through Quincy. If Quincy is watching, hi Quincy. And I found out that Bart likes it very cold, as in he sticks. He is all about the Wim Hof method. I don't know if you know that. So he really does the ice bucket challenge. And that, for me personally, even thinking about it, makes me quiver. So that's the intro of Bart. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so let's talk about saunas now. No, yeah, you know what? I'm one of the I'm one of the senior instructors of WIM. So I'm one of the people that teach new instructors to become Wim Hof method instructors, amongst other stuff that I do. And it's not so much that I love the cold as I love what it teaches me. And if the question is how can we boost our well-being, while working from home, then again, this is about connection to me. Because if we take the example of the cold, what it does, it connects you to yourself again, and it gets all of the shit from yesterday and tomorrow out of your system. So, and I fully believe that living in the present moment as much as possible and creating a better future from this present moment is the best thing we can do. And that's probably why we're here. And that's one of the things that Wim taught me, and that the ice baths have taught me. So by connecting and connecting to yourself and putting the work in, loving yourself, actually actively seeking a bit of discomfort out of love for yourself will help you grow. So that's what ice baths do to me. But that's also what it does when I go out in the rain when nobody else does. And when I climb a fence and go look what's on the other side. I want to evolve and learn and live. And everything I learn there on a daily basis, I can take to companies and to individuals that are stuck with problems, are stuck with themselves. So if there would be one thing that I would advise people to do is go outside, go into nature, not necessarily in an ice bath. You can do that. Always visit a professional when you do that first. But, challenge your system a bit. Because if we keep being and living inside that bubble that we are in, and I know governments make it harder these days to go outside. We're probably entering a locked third lockdown situation, which will have a curfew. So after 8 o'clock, you can't go out anymore. How crazy do you want it in these times of living freely in a free world? But go outside as much as possible. And also during your working day, don't stay inside in this office the entire day. Offices are cool, but we are nature. And by going out into nature, we reconnect with that inner nature again. And that will make your entire system function better. So, take it from a playful.
I'm going to hand it over. Thank you, Bart. I'm going to hand it over to Anita. Anita, what do you have to add?
Well, I think it's a very good one. Bart just was explaining getting comfortable. Actually, it's getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, and that is good for human beings. I think one thing which makes me actually a little bit mad in this whole situation is the question like, how long is this gonna take? People are asking, how long is this gonna take? And actually, I know war, and in war, nothing is certain.
Yes.
And actually, you can compare it with what's happening now. What can we tell about the future? Well, actually, nothing. Nobody can answer that question, and we have to be comfortable with that answer and not keep longing for answers from our leaders, because that is crazy. So I think what people need in this moment, so how to boost your well-being while working from home, acceptance of what is now, what is here, and acceptance of that we don't know. Maybe if we look back in like 2 or 3 months, we wish we would have the same situation, because that's where we at. We don't know. We don't know. The only thing we know is that we don't know. So let's accept that. Let's really accept, because I'm like, every time I don't even listen to these talk shows anymore because they really make me tired. And then comes this question to these leaders, like, you should know how long this is going to. We don't know. These people are trying their best. They're giving us their best, and they don't know. So let's just all accept and being comfortable with that uncomfortable.
I like that. Thank you. I'm so quiet. Ilse.
Yeah, indeed. It's I love that, Anita. The word that I like to bring, or the concept I'd like to bring up, is boundaries. We've gone. I think in the first lockdown, we kind of, it was all new. So, okay, we adapted well. And then we had some kind of freedom, or, some movement possible. And then came the second lockdown, which, just seems to last forever. So I think putting boundaries on how much we work, where we work, how we structure our days, all these are important to make sure that we, maintain our balance, because that's what it is about, right? It's making sure that we don't get out of balance, that we don't give too much. So that's what I have recently really worked on, is really boundaries in terms of how many hours till what time. My evenings are now free, which they weren't till last year, let's say. Now they're absolutely free. I reorganized even where I work, reorganizing the space where I work, making sure that that's where I work, and I'm not in my office or where I work in the weekend or in the evening. So really having these clear structure, basically, but that helps us kind of keep our balance.
I totally agree. I knew that last year when I was doing this show on a weekly basis, but now 2021, I'm toning it down a little bit. So next week I will be not doing a show, doing a reminder for myself and taking a break to invest also in my learning and development.
Yeah.
But one thing that I noticed, the moment that we hit the winter period, my energy was different. And that means that when my energy is different, that means also that I cannot give too much energy into the evening conversations. That means that I have to downsize, my calendar, think about what I can do during the day. And if I'm doing something huge in the evening or in the afternoon, I take my mornings free. My morning is my free time so that I can balance it off. And yeah, I want to hand it over to Tynan before I take it over. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think about this in two ways. I think about it in the practical sense as a kinesiologist. I used to be a health coach, and it's like, the small wins are big wins in this scenario.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people, I saw this a lot when I was working with people as clients earlier. And when they were professional athletes or high-level athletes as youth or young adults, and then I was working with them in their adult life, and they still were stuck in thinking that 2 workouts a day that were super hardcore, that was to them what exercise was, right? And I think it could be the same thing now. It's like what your old routine for health, especially physical fitness, whether it was that you could go to a gym and lift weights, you could go for a run on the treadmill at the gym that you paid money for, or was at your office and it was in your routine. Now you're like confined to your house and outside. And I live in Canada, it gets cold. There's snow on the ground. So some people can't even go outside, So, but again, there are so many videos out there now. There are so many apps. I just want to, say with all the love that I have in my heart, if you are going through your life and not doing any physical activity, you're not helping yourself.
Yeah.
And I think this is really challenging for people because, again, this is not meant to be condemning or shaming, but it's a loveful, I feel like it's a loving statement to say, if you're doing nothing for your physical fitness, start today, tomorrow. Don't go another day, because like Anita said, we can't predict the future. So if what you're saying, the cycle I've heard so many people say through their minds is, well, my gym will open soon, so I'll just wait until then. Well, I have had that thought myself personally. And then my gym sent me an email saying, sorry, 6 more weeks, we won't be open. Well, if I was planning to wait now another 6 weeks, that's a big toll on your body. And, the mental health conversation is at an all-time high, and I'm so for it. What I do think is kind of gone by the wayside is it's almost been replaced. The physical fitness stuff now doesn't get talked about as much. It's there's not enough space to talk about both and at the same time. But I think what I love about Wim Hof, I'm a subscriber. I don't go in full cold baths every day, but I take cold showers at least 5 times a week. And this is really important to me. What I love is that it's a meet in the middle. It's both mental and physical. And I think that when we talk about a lot of like, putting on a 30-minute exercise video from YouTube, literally search 30-minute exercise video. There will be 10,000 of them. One person you will like. Turn one on, do 2 minutes. But again, if you're trying to be a mental health champion, you can't be strong in your mental health without being strong in your physical health. That doesn't work. And I think that's the message that I would try and leave with people, is that if you're feeling low, if you're getting depressed and feeling these symptoms, if you're feeling fatigued from the work, then you have tools available to you to help you. And it involves being healthy, active, eating well, and stewarding your body. That's a temple. I think there's so much talk of like, this is, killing us and we want to get out of lockdown. But yet people aren't taking the tools that are totally available to them and putting them into action. So
there is so much there's so much low-hanging fruit available, because imagine yourself being in this lockdown 15 years ago, or maybe 20 years ago, right?
Yes.
No internet. I know that a lot of people are going to like, no Wi-Fi, no internet. What are we going to do? Even now, I'm hearing the youth or some people saying that I don't know what to do. And I'm just like, I wish I had your luxury. I wish that I had your time to invest in my health, to invest in my learning, to invest in so many things that I wish that I have time for. So I totally agree. It goes both hand in hand, mental and physical well-being. We need to put it together instead of placing it separate.
Yes.
Lee.
Yeah, I resonate with so much that everyone said. So much value there. A lot of the stuff I do is around psychological separation. It's one of the big challenges when working from home. So obviously it's finding ways to create a routine and a schedule when the social anchors have been taken away. You almost have to build your own in and ensure that you've got, some level of planning there, because that gives you that feeling of control, even when the external environment is, turbulent, is challenging, is a lot, things are out of your control. And we have lost some autonomy and some of our freedoms. But when you start to look at what you do have, it's incredibly powerful. And that actually becomes something we become grateful for if we can focus on that. And a lot of it really is trying to find a harmony in everything that's going on, because naturally it's the first time for many people you've had to work from home, educate from home, live at home, sleep at home, do activities at home. It's one environment, and trying to find ways to partition that. Some people are living with families, some people with housemates. It is really challenging. But what we don't want to do is turn working from home to living at work. And that's a real challenging balance to find. Obviously, back into the connection element, intentional connection to other people, spreading some kindness, because, the oxytocin and serotonin that you're going to get from being kind to others, to check in on those people who are vulnerable in your community, from making an intentional effort. Before we were so busy, many people would be like, oh, I haven't got time to call you back now. Now you might have a little segment of time to actually replicate those conversations that you would have while making a drink at work, while going to the next department to discuss something. And all of a sudden you've got to intentionally put those back into your schedule. It's very easy to just have meeting after meeting after meeting.
Exactly. Let's kill the meetings. Let's kill all the meetings, because people are still being kidnapped into so many Zoom meetings. It's like they're replacing the office meetings to the Zoom meetings, going back to back, not realizing that you're activating the Zoom fatigue even harder now. You're causing a situation where people are having troubles with sleeping, or they are decreasing their sleep quality, which is bad for mental and physical health. Sorry, I had to put that in.
The sleep thing, the anxiety caused by the underlying pandemic is impacting sleep, but you have a lot of control over your sleep. Meditate in the morning, you'll start to improve the ability to have a PM routine where you can reduce your anxiety down, reduce your stress, and find a place of balance, because your sleep impacts every biological process in your body. Therefore, it's actually vital for our emotional balance the following day and our regeneration, both mentally and physically. And back to what Bart said, get out in nature, get your senses ignited when you can. Even if that's a walk around the block in the morning, I take my children round the block to simulate walking to school.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
coming
that's good.
back home, and it's just getting out, you know, the wind on our faces, it lights us up. The sunlight is absolutely powerful, especially in these shorter days in the winter. But yeah, just kind of my biggest thing is have a digital sunset. When your work day's over, shut down your devices and shut down your mind. Like you're turning off your work computer, put them somewhere ready for the next day. And what that allows you to do is disconnect and try not to jump back into social media and news, which so often is pulling our attention towards things that are negative and things that are challenging.
True, true. I also wanted to add something with what you share, because some people are sharing or caring for others while their cup is empty. I want you to at least, fill your cup half full. Take care of yourself first before you're taking care of other people. Just like, the exercise that we do in the airplane, right? You have to put on your own oxygen mask before you're handing it over to your child. So please take care of yourself first. And if you are feeling a little bit challenged, discuss it with your GP, your doctor, or somebody else, or somebody that can help you, because these days, especially with the less sun, and we crave sun. At least I crave a lot of sun. I'm dreaming about Greece, so my child is also dreaming about Greece, and I'm just like, oh, it's almost there. But think about those times that you were visiting the sun, or have your moments that you are doing a holiday walk through the images, or go outside just for that walk, because it will boost you. It will boost your energy. It will give you so much more. And at least do this exercise for at least 2 weeks, and you'll notice an improvement. I want to go to a next question, and I want to start with you, Anita. What is the most important step leaders can take to support the well-being of their people? If you have one thing, one thing to share.
I always have that one thing. But
but it's the one thing, shorter thing, not the one extended thing.
Okay. Well, I think what's important for leaders, I think having a good conversation with their employees, listening to them, to their needs, to their worries, having real conversations with them, because there isn't a solution that fits for all. So I think go have this conversation and ask your employees what they need, what are their struggles on a daily basis, and help them. Or sometimes just listening is also helping them.
Yeah. Tynan.
Thank
you.
Yeah, I think for me, it feels like if leaders could begin to not make health and wellness such a secretive part of life, but rather something that comes into the workday, not as an extension, a thing that you have to sneak in. Literally, we use that terminology. We're like, oh, I hope I can sneak in a workout. It's like secret, private, taboo. Not like none of like the word sneak is actually not a positive word. It feels dirty, right? Like you're sneaking off to a brothel. Like that's what you do to sneak. You don't sneak your like personal health and wellness. And so, one of the leaders in my team, because I both do consulting on the side, have a podcast, but I also work a full-time job. And they did an amazing job with me yesterday, literally just a prime example. So, I guess it was kind of a give and a take. So what happened is we had a town hall right before this call we're on right now with our entire company. And it was 2.5 hours long. I saw that come into my calendar. I was like, wow, that's a long Zoom meeting.
Yeah. I run away from them.
Yeah, of course, you're like, I know that I'll be allowed to, get up and get tea or maybe stand up, but I don't have a standing desk. And so I think walking is really important. So I just sort of made a, bold move and said in our chat on Slack, I just said, I'm going to totally put my headphones in and go for a walk while this call is on.
Yeah.
And I knew it was a bit of a risky move because that's not the norm, right? And one of our leaders responded, I'm totally okay with this. Just make sure, like, this is a confidential meeting. Obviously, a town hall, we're discussing our goals for 2024, internal only conversation. Just make sure it's not on speakerphone where anyone else can hear. And I was like, that is so amazing, right? Where, you know, I guess I'll give myself some credit. I was a bit of a leader in saying, here's what I'm going to do. And just, you know, boldly say that. But then also to have a leader come in, support, affirm, and boundary and you know, a bit of a criteria around it, that was so amazing. And I think a lot of leaders don't feel like they can insert wellness into the workday. But yet again, like you're saying, Vivian, we go back-to-back meetings, but like Zoom has a call-in feature, right?
Mm-hmm.
The amount of times that
Does
you
it?
don't, what?
Does it? I don't think that a lot of people know that.
No, like I literally went on my phone. I had when they were presenting slides, I could still see it. Mind you, I have a good data plan, so I guess maybe that helps me. And then, you know, it's possible. Maybe you also say, hey, I did a workout before the workday, and I just let my other colleague that I was going to be meeting with saying, hey, I just finished a workout. I'm going to just shower off quick before our meeting. And it was almost like maybe this is just my thing that I'm feeling important in my life. But I want to be someone that gives people permission to talk about this stuff. Yeah. And makes it normal that this is your life. And it goes back to humanizing the workplace. It's like, hey, I require a shower because I'm a human being. I'm going to just like have that be that I also talk about on top of the client call that I had. So I don't know, but yeah, that secretiveness around health and wellness in the workday, I think we got to throw that in the garbage and start to talk about it more.
What about you, Ilse?
Yeah, I love that, Tynan. There is the, you know, it's about the being. It's accepting that we can talk about being and not always doing. You know, I've had clients whose director hasn't even, I mean, in a whole year has hardly asked them how they're doing, you know. They've had maybe 2-3 meetings in a year. Hopefully, I'm not even sure it's live, but, you know, whatever. So it's about, you know, indeed making being more a topic. You know, how are we feeling? Not just how are we doing in the sense of, you know, what are the results? It's more about how, you know, what is happening in our life? What is worrying us? I mean, some executive I was coaching, he suddenly discovered after, you know, a discussion with one of his managers that he had a very big worry about because his job involved visiting places, and that he was afraid because his mother is elderly and has poor health. So obviously, with the situation, it's a risky situation. So to have that, you know, to have that sensitivity to be curious about what's happening in people's lives. And have that, you know, have an eye for that, yeah, and an ear, and really give that time, you know, really take that time to talk about that.
Love it. Thank you. Lee.
Oh, I'm gonna keep it nice and short because I could talk about it all day. So yeah, firstly, appreciation for your employees. So it's so often understated how a simple asking a question, showing a bit of an interest in the human element of your employees goes. And they've done research studies. It makes a massive difference to well-being at a base level. Before you bring in anything, if your employees don't feel appreciated, you're going to struggle to cultivate a culture of well-being. Secondly, create some space for the discussion around what well-being is to people, because ultimately every employee has their own well-being why. And if they can start to explore that why and become more self-aware, then they'll start to take more well-being engagement in their own behaviours. And that kind of cultivates well-being communities within organisations, people who champion well-being. And that's what helps it to embed internally, because it's not all leadership, but leadership has to be congruent. If they're going to talk about employees being well, leadership needs to be well themselves. And like Tynan says, they need to be showing that actually on social media, I've gone out on a run. Look at my sweaty face. I'm a boss. I'll go and use the gym. I'll be the first one in there to show that other people can come and use it. Because so often, well-being stuff is brought in for the employees. Where are the leaders? They're not willing to engage and lead themselves first. The employees are going to be like, why should I change my behavior?
We preach.
It feels like
Exactly.
something you're doing to us rather than giving to us. And ultimately, create that space so they can participate and really start to engage in what well-being that they want, because they'll engage with it more. And we've got to remember that more often than not in organizations, the people who can benefit the most from well-being are the least willing to engage in it. So if we can include the employees in that provision and leadership start to actually decide why they're bringing it in, make it very clear, communicate it well, and ensure that employees actually feel valued, and they'll value their bodies and their minds more as well.
And I'll add a small thing into create a menu so that people can choose from whatever it is that they want to work on to boost their resiliency. Because for some, it might be working on their mental well-being. For some other people, it might be working on their physical well-being. Or for somebody else, it might be working on their career well-being. Have that menu card in place so that they can choose. Bart.
Yeah, just, short. Don't make it so complicated. Keep shit simple. Keep it clear.
Yeah.
Unfuck the system. Let go of all the BS. The menu, the option to choose. Give people a moment to choose. Yeah, simple. No complications.
Thank you. Okay, then I'll start with Ilse, because we are coming at the end of the show. What do you wish to see in 2025? I know that we just started with 2021, but still we have 4 good years to go to make this wish happen. What do you wish to see when it comes to humanizing the workplace and workplace wellness?
Wow. To keep it short, I think what I would give priority to is, I'll call it self-awareness. What do I mean by that is making sure that everybody knows their talents, in the sense, what gives them energy? What do they love doing? What are their passions? Whether they're even their values at the end of the day, what's important, what guides them? Because I strongly believe that if everybody is feeling, is self-aware and therefore can make choices in line with who they are, they'll feel, let's say, more relaxed. They'll feel, empowered also, and therefore they'll give the most of them. And it brings, companies can thrive if everybody, has found their place and can give the best of them. So that for me is really important. So because also when people are more self-aware, they also recognize things in others. They recognize people's talents, and they maybe involve somebody new in a project because they say, hey, I think you love that. Would you be interested in joining that? So it would create I would say almost a lightness, and let's get things going, and let's from that groundedness create that lightness of getting things moving. I think that would be fantastic.
Thank you. Anita.
Well, that there's a totally different world. No. Well, I think I agree with Ilse. More awareness of what makes us happy as human beings, as professionals, but also more awareness about all of the roles we're fulfilling every day in everyday life, and try to find a good way to integrate that with being a professional or an entrepreneur. I think it should be as simple as that, because that's where we aren't at this moment, and that gives a lot of pressure for people at this moment. So hopefully we can be more human. 2025. We can be more, just a little bit more human. Yeah.
A little bit more.
A little bit lot more.
Thank you. Lee.
Yeah, the world's ever changing. The world of work is ever changing. But if there's one thing that I wish for 2025, it's that bigger organizations start to see just how interconnected well-being is to diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging. Things such as organizational culture, health and safety, all the way through to onboarding processes, and the fact that ultimately it all starts with that very basic process of people's values being identified and being aligned to the company's values. So people actually feel like the work is meaningful and purposeful. And then they are engaged, then they are lightened, then they are empowered, and they're able to become more self-aware and start to develop themselves, both as a person and in the work that they do. And I think that sometimes companies, they section these things off and silo them, when actually they're all interconnected. And if you want well-being, you can't just bring well-being in. You need to have a place where people feel like they have opportunity, where they have some autonomy to grow. And ultimately, it all comes down to looking at things from a much wider perspective. And hopefully, by 2025, companies will be much more aware of that.
Lee's challenging you, so listen. And Bart.
Yeah, if I look at nature, there is no bird, no tree, no other animal working. They're all living, and so if we would, as nature, as the nature that we are, would not see work as work, but live passionately and from the heart instead of I need to do this because somebody expects me to do it, then I think we have made major steps towards ourselves, our authentic selves, and that everybody can, excel at what they are best at. Look at people's individual values and their talents and empower those instead of putting them in a role and you got to do this and just nod yes and be happy that you have this job. It's time for radical change, and I think we're moving in that direction.
Yeah, thank you. Tynan.
Yeah, I think for me, what comes to mind is this idea of really hard to have conversations. I see this year being one where we've, gone to the extremes, whether it was, the resurgence of, conversations around how Black Lives Matter. I'm a half Black man. And so, I've been in the heat of many of these. And then added on top of that, being in a pandemic and then a US election. And it's just so
and then tomorrow,
how in a year we've just leveled up in how many things we have to talk about that are real. And I take it as a blessing. And for me, the key to them and doing, coming out happy from those conversations is learning how to live unoffendable. And so for me, that's really interesting because, again, when you talk about work and what Lee mentioned and everyone kind of has alluded to is wow, how cool is it that you now get to see a leader that's human because their kid comes and, gives them a kiss on the cheek when they used to be this really firm, not very nice boss that everyone was afraid of. And now you see that, their daughter coming in a tutu and saying, I have to go to the bathroom, daddy. That's totally different than what they might have had as their. But then on top of that, we've also seen that actually the hard to have conversations walking to a room or a Zoom room or asking for a meeting and asking a leadership team saying, hey, our leadership team is really not diverse. How are we going to change that? And just asking those questions. And from the leader side, not being offended by that question, but taking it as an exciting challenge. And then also creating an internal company culture where employees are not afraid of those conversations,
Yes.
Or similarly, maybe you're an entrepreneur and you don't have a whole team, but are you willing and able to have uncomfortable conversations with your clients, with your customers to say, hey, here's some real talk and we're going to not reset and go back into our shells and have the surface level conversations again and again and again. Now is the time. 2021, there's no going back, deep or nothing, you know? So that's for me where my path to almost happiness, I think.
I love that. I love that. I want to say thank you for this amazing conversation. I really enjoyed the energy and also what you have to share. And to those who watch this episode or are just watching now, all the guest speakers has shared a lot of challenges. So pick a challenge that you want to work on this year, from this year on, so that you can commit to one of the challenges that they shared for 2025. And hopefully by then our dreams can come true, because my ultimate dream is to create a working environment where my son is being welcomed for who he is, being welcomed for the skills that he have, instead of the skin color that he has or his mother or dad. So that's what I'm hoping for. So thank you for watching today. I am just going to highlight my presentation. Thank you for watching. You can also listen to this podcast later on in a few days, but know that next week I will be taking a break, just one day, and the week after I will continue the conversation about something about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So thank you for watching, and until next time, bye everybody.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Bye.